It is 3:14 a.m. over Hamadan, Iran, and the sensors aboard the WC-135R Constant Phoenix are suddenly climbing into the red. The air outside is carrying traces of uranium where there should be nothing but desert dust. Then the mountain comes alive. From a concealed opening in the rock, an Iranian Bavar 373 battery releases a Sayyad-3 interceptor. It launches cold, then accelerates through the night sky at nearly 3,000 miles per hour. There is no radar warning, no electronic signal to catch, only a heat-seeking system locked onto the aircraft's engines. The massive U.S. aircraft, weighing more than 300,000 pounds, rolls hard into an emergency turn. Its metal frame strains under the pressure as the wings flex against the sudden force. Nearby, an escorting F-15E Strike Eagle catches the thermal flash and sends an M9X Sidewinder racing in to stop it. The Sidewinder meets the Sayyad-3 barely 500 feet from the Constant Phoenix's wing. The blast wave rocks the aircraft, cracking rear windows and tearing cabin pressure out in an instant. Then the mountain opens again. 3 more interceptors rise into the darkness. What looked like empty rock is now a carefully prepared trap, and the confrontation has only just begun. Out at sea, the USS Abraham Lincoln does not wait for another warning. While the WC-135R Constant Phoenix is still fighting to stay stable, the carrier is already turning into the wind. 4 F-35C. Lightning II stealth fighters launch from the deck, screaming into the night. These aircraft are among the most advanced tools in the American arsenal, built to move through defended airspace without being seen. But as they cross the Iranian coastline, the pilots quickly realize they are entering a different kind of challenge. Normally, a pilot's systems listen for the enemy. They detect radar signals, track emissions, and build a picture of the threat. But this time, the screens are nearly empty. The sky is silent. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps understood they could not win a direct electronic contest against the United States. So instead of trying to outmatch American radar systems, they chose a simpler and more patient approach. They switched their radars off. For months, they reshaped sections of the mountain into passive defense zones. Instead of broadcasting signals, they installed Chinese-made thermal imaging systems, giant electronic eyes that see heat instead of light. Since they do not transmit anything, the F-35s have almost nothing to detect. While American pilots are searching for radar activity, the IRGC is watching the heat signature of fast-moving jets against the cold night sky. They also used a slow, quiet method to hide the work. Night after night, ordinary dump trucks moved small amounts of rock. To anyone watching, it looked like road repair. In reality, they were clearing and reopening tunnels that U.S. planners believed had been sealed. The bunker doors were painted to match the gray mountain stone. From 20,000 feet above, the entrance looked like a natural rock slide. Then, without warning, the silent ridge flashes. The lead F-35C pilot sees a sharp burst of light across his helmet display. A hidden hatch slides open along a jagged ridge, and a Sayyad-4 interceptor surges upward from the ground. This one is built for altitude. It climbs straight into the thin upper air, racing towards 70,000 feet before turning over. Its goal is to get above the stealth fighter and come down from a direction the pilot does not want to defend. The pilot throws the aircraft into a brutal turn, pulling 9 Gs. Imagine 9 versions of your own body pressing down on your chest at once. His vision narrows. The world begins to lose color. He has to tense every muscle and force himself to stay focused. He releases a miniature air-launched decoy, a small jet-powered drone designed to draw attention away from the real aircraft. It broadcasts the signature of a larger target, trying to convince the incoming system to follow it instead. But the Bavar 373 battery does not take the bait. Its computers compare the heat of the decoy with the heat of the F-35's engine and keep tracking the real aircraft. The pilot has only one choice: remove the mountain's eyes. He opens the internal weapons bay for less than a second. Even that brief opening increases the jet's visibility to enemy sensors, so timing is everything. 2 AGM-88G AAR GMER rounds drop free and ignite, accelerating toward the thermal mast at incredible speed. The Iranian battery responds with defensive interceptors, trying to stop the incoming strike before it reaches the ridge. One American round is caught mid-air, lighting up the valley in a bright orange flash. But the second one punches through. It reaches the mast holding the thermal cameras and hits with precision. The payload sends a storm of tungsten fragments through the sensor array, tearing the cameras apart and cutting the mountain's vision. For a moment, the ridge goes blind. But the IRGC has not played its last card. Hidden among the dirt piles and fake construction sites, dozens of smaller Cordad-15 batteries begin to wake up. They begin launching interceptors across the sky, not to hit a single target, but to build a moving barrier that forces the US jets to keep their distance. The F-35s are now weaving through a storm of heat and metal. Flares bloom behind them as the pilots pull punishing high G turns, their engines roaring so loudly that the sound rolls through the canyons like thunder. The passive trap has been triggered. The mountain's long-range eye has been knocked out. But the Iranian guards are still buried deep inside the rock. The US has taken control of the air. Now they have to break the mountain. With the ridge's long-range sensors disabled, the US Navy begins the saturation phase. You do not send one round at a fortress like this. You overwhelm it. From the deck of the USS Gravely, a wave of BGM-109 Tomahawk cruise missiles rises from the vertical launch tubes. 40 of them climb into the night. Each one costs around $2 million and carries a payload large enough to tear through hardened targets. The Tomahawk is a terrain-hugging hunter. It drops low, skimming barely 100 feet above the desert floor while moving at 550 miles per hour. It follows the curves of the valleys like a snake, staying beneath the view of Iranian radar sites. But the IRGC knows they are coming. Their short-range defense network wakes up. Dozens of Mersad-16 batteries hidden among the disguised rock piles snap into action. These systems are built for close-range interception, and as the Tomahawks round the final bend toward the Isfahan mountain complex, the valley erupts. Mersad-16 interceptors launch in pairs, streaking across the canyon at nearly 2,000 miles per hour. One Tomahawk is caught directly in its engine section and breaks apart, turning into a rolling flash that sweeps across the canyon floor. Another is struck by a cloud of fragments. Its wing tears away, sending it spiraling into a mountain ridge and triggering a heavy rock slide. The US answers with decoys. Some of the Tomahawks are not carrying destructive payloads at all. Instead, they are packed with electronic noisemakers. Their job is to fly straight into the heart of the Iranian defenses and draw the Mersad-16 systems away from the real strike package. Every interceptor spent on a decoy is one less available for the actual targets. Then one real BGM-109 breaks through the smoke. It slips around a ridge, drops lower, and locks onto a ventilation shaft connected to the underground bunker. Its reinforced nose punches through the outer rock before the main payload activates deep inside the structure. Across another part of the valley, 4 Tomahawks arrive almost at the same moment and hit the IRGC's mobile command center. Trucks, antennas, and launch crews disappear inside a rapid chain of orange flashes that last less than 3 seconds. The defensive wall is starting to crack, but the uranium facility is still buried beneath 200 feet of rock, and reaching it will require something far heavier. The F-35s and Tomahawks have cleared the surface. The exposed launch sites are damaged, the visible defenses are disrupted, and the valley is glowing with smoke and dust. Now the heavy hitter enters the scene. High above the clouds, a B-2 Spirit stealth bomber is waiting. From below, it looks less like an aircraft and more like a black wing cut out of the night. Its shape is designed to slip past radar, and inside its weapons bay sits one of the heaviest conventional bunker-busting weapons ever built, the GBU-57 Massive Ordnance Penetrator. It is the size of a minivan and weighs 30,000 pounds, about as much as 2 full-grown African elephants. It is not just a weapon. It is a gravity-driven steel drill, built to punch through rock before releasing its force underground. The B-2 opens its weapons bay. For a brief moment, the dark shape of the 15-ton penetrator hangs beneath the aircraft. Then it drops into the night. But the IRGC still has one final move left. They had hidden one final Sayyad-2 battery inside a deep cave opening that the Tomahawks had missed. The Sayyad-2 is fast, agile, and built for close-range interception. Its mission is simple: stop the falling GBU-57 before it reaches the mountain. If the penetrator is taken out in mid-air, the underground complex survives. 2. Sayyad-2 interceptors burst out of the cave and climb hard into the night. Their sensors lock onto the enormous heat signature building around the GBU-57 as it gains speed in the thin upper air. Then 2 F-35 Lightning II jets dive from 40,000 feet. Their engines are pushed to the edge, the air tearing over their wings as they accelerate past 1,200 miles per hour. The pilots line up their shots and release AIM-9X Sidewinders. The Sidewinders streak across the sky, their heat-seeking systems locked onto the Iranian interceptors. Now it is a race through the darkness. The first AIM-9X reaches a Sayyad-2 from behind and strikes its tail section. The Iranian interceptor breaks apart into a cloud of glowing metal, barely 2,000 feet from the falling GBU-57. But the second Sayyad-2 is still closing. It is only seconds away. The second F-35 pilot makes a desperate move. He cuts directly across the interceptor's path and releases a thick wall of flares. For a split second, the Sayyad-2's guidance system sees too many heat sources at once. It hesitates. Then it pulls away at the last possible moment, missing the GBU-57 by less than 50 feet before bursting harmlessly in the open sky. The path is clear. The GBU-57 strikes the top of the Isfahan mountain at nearly 700 miles per hour. Its hardened body drives through 200 feet of solid rock in less than a second. When the payload finally activates deep underground, the entire mountain seems to shudder. Inside the tunnels, lights fail. Floors split. Walls buckle under the pressure. The hidden fortress is no longer a safe base. It has become a trap. The impact opens a jagged breach through the rock, a path the U.S. teams can now use to reach the material buried below. The mountain has been cracked open, but the IRGC is still not finished. As MH-47G Chinook helicopters descend toward the smoking breach, the sky above the valley fills with incoming fire. The IRGC launches a final saturation barrage, sending everything they have left into the air. Fateh 110 ballistic missiles and Fajr 5 heavy rockets. Dozens of them arc over the mountains, all aimed at the narrow zone where the helicopters must hover. It is a moving wall of metal designed to force the Chinooks back before the mission can be completed. 40 miles away, the USS Gravely comes alive. Its Aegis combat system begins tracking the sky in real time, following target after target with machine precision. The destroyer launches a volley of SM-6 interceptors, some of the most advanced defensive weapons in the U.S. fleet. They surge forward at nearly 3,000 miles per hour, fast enough to cross the Isfahan range in under 2 minutes. The SM-6 interceptors meet the incoming Fateh 110s high above the mountains. There are no lucky shots here, only the cold precision of computer-guided steel meeting steel. Closer to the breach, the helicopters are protected by RIM 162 ESSM interceptors. One Fajr 5 rocket races toward the lead MH-47G Chinook. An ESSM rises from the valley floor and cuts across its path. The two collide just 500 yards from the helicopter. The shockwave rattles the Chinook's rotors, but the protective shield holds. Under the cover of this layered defense, the U.S. teams finish the operation. Robotic carts roll through the smoke, carrying 18 sealed lead cylinders of uranium out of the damaged tunnel system and toward the waiting helicopters. The Iranian air defenses launch one final desperate move. From a hidden position, a Sayyad-3 battery sends a cold launch volley toward the retreating helicopters. But this time, the U.S. is ready. An F-35C Lightning II catches the thermal flash almost instantly. The pilot brings the jet's powerful electronic warfare system online and floods the airspace with interference. The Sayyad-3 interceptors begin to lose their track. Their guidance systems struggle to hold on. One veers off and slams into a mountain peak. The other drifts wide and falls into the desert below. The MH-47G Chinooks pull hard on their collectives and drop into the deep canyons, using the rock walls as cover while the last U.S. interceptors clear the sky above them. The uranium is gone. The mountain complex is in ruins. The hidden trap that had taken months to build has been emptied by a force that arrived with heavier tools, stronger defenses, and better timing. But before this story ends, there is one detail about the SM-6 interceptor that almost nobody talks about. During the operation inside the mountain, radio contact collapsed. The deep rock, narrow canyons, and broken terrain blocked the signals. For 15 minutes, U.S. commanders had no clear confirmation that the team was still moving. They could not hear a status update. They could not receive a call for support. They were almost completely blind, so the Navy used an SM-6 in a way most people would never expect. A U.S. ship launched one high over the mountains, sending it into a massive arc nearly 100 miles above the battlefield. But this interceptor was not chasing a target. While moving through the upper atmosphere at nearly 3,000 miles per hour, it became a temporary relay in the sky. For a few critical moments, it listened for the ground team's radio signal and reflected that signal back toward the fleet. The round that helped save the mission was not used for impact. It became a fast, expensive radio mirror above the mountains. Without that relay, the helicopters may not have known exactly when to move in. The timing could have fallen apart and the extraction window could have closed. One of the most advanced defensive weapons in the world had been used like a temporary cell tower in the sky. Think about that.